Place 10 for the best roguelike card games goes to Deck of Ashes, which is an adventure game with tactical card combat. One character at a time, lead the cast of anti-heroes on a quest for redemption. Explore the cursed fantasy world and hunt down powerful cards. Forge a unique battle deck and crush your foes. Deck-building games have made a resurgence in the wake of the unexpected success of Slay the Spire, and they've met with varying levels of success. Hearthstone currently employs a single-player deck-building mode every 2 expansions or so, and they're well received, generally occupying players for about 1 or 2 weeks. That's not what games like Deck of Ashes want, though. To sustain themselves, they need to present a better, more in-depth offering. Luckily for fans of the genre, Deck of Ashes offers a lot of that in a relatively short hands-on experience that lasts 1 prologue and 1 champion story. While the main game will have to do more than what's being previewed currently in the demo of the game's early access build, what's there is a more than serviceable foundation for a quality deck-building title. Champion variety will be crucial, but at this stage, it's hard not to be excited about what Deck of Ashes is doing, operating as a sort of cross between Slay the Spire and Darkest Dungeon. The battles in Deck of Ashes can be pretty brutal. While the game successfully warns players which spots on the map house the hardest battles, even the easy ones aren't gimmicks, especially after a few adventures on the same trip. Health recovery is a resource, as is the deck. Overall, though, Deck of Ashes is promising, and if most of its issues exist adjacent to its actual card slinging, then they can be fixed prior to a full launch. Deck of Ashes is well worth your time if you're interested in deck-building games, even if it can be a little punishing at times. Place 9 for the best roguelike card games goes to Blood Card. This card game combines elements of roguelike and deck building. During the game, you shall strive ahead, gathering cards to build a unique deck and use it to defeat the enemies getting in your way. You will have to choose between escaping or try to defeat death, who is relentlessly pursuing you. This game is not quite at the level of Slay the Spire, but it will satisfy the taste for a similar game to Slay the Spire. It is very catching at the beginning, because there's lots of cards and synergies to play with. It also offers great replayability, especially due to different mechanics from one character to the other. Unfortunately, this game is too easy once you get the hang of it. Some cards are definitely way too good, and will lead to easy wins the moment you grab them. Unbeatable card combos are very rapidly understood. There are insane snowball effects on the first picks. Overall, it is a Slay the Spire clone, but less polished and with less depth. It is a shame for a roguelike that it is too easy to beat, and offers no real challenge in the long run.
This world ends, even
Place 8 for the best roguelike card games goes to Iratus Lord of the Dead, which is like Darkest Dungeon, except that you are the bad guy. Instead of a stalwart hero, you are Iratus, an evil necromancer who has been freed from his ancient prison, and now seeks to create an army of undead servants from the sundered parts of fallen foes. As Iratus, you wield an array of powerful abilities in turn-based combat against intelligent enemies at multiple difficulties. You can expand your powers across a skill tree of 4 unique necromantic ability trees like Alchemy, Magic, Ire, and Destruction, and rebuild your grim underground lair with vile, forbidden rituals that will unlock access to more exotic and powerful minions. It's a roguelike, so if you have no minions left and no body parts to make new ones, it's game over. The subject matter is pretty dark, but this is an enjoyably tongue-in-cheek game. Iratus, Lord of the Dead doesn't have much in the way of new ideas. It's a collection of systems borrowed from a bunch of successful PC games, and quite blatant about it. But thanks to some lavish artwork, a feeling of polish, and that monster creation system. But if it's a game with a gentle difficulty curve you're after, Iratus may not be the hardcore and dark necromancer for you. Place 7 for the best roguelike card games goes to Guild of Dungeoneering, which is a turn-based dungeon crawler with a twist. Instead of controlling the hero, you're tasked with building the dungeon around him. Using cards drawn from your guild decks, you lay down rooms, monsters, traps, and of course loot. The Guild of Dungeoneering is a fabulous game, which provides hour after hour of addictive gameplay. Guild of Dungeoneering can get frustrating due to all of the randomness, but even then there's just no getting around the fact that it is a wonderful game. And if it ever does come to handhelds, I'll be eager to give it another go. It's an interesting game for RPG and trading card game fans. The gameplay isn't deep enough to be considered compelling, but it still delivers some interesting and original ideas. The strong points of this adventure are the interesting card-based combat, and the different strategies you can do depending the characteristics of the boss and the class of your dungeoneer. At the final stages it's a bit repetitive and the length is short. Overall, it is a cutesy card-based dungeon crawler that runs out of new ideas before too long, but one worth checking out. Place 6 for the best roguelike card games goes to Neoverse. It is a beautiful, fantastic game consisting of adventures with thrilling challenges. It is a strategic action, roguelike deck-building game that will test the player's skill. Start an adventure with unique heroes to save the world along various timelines. Every game is never the same as the previous one, and therefore the 36 stages that separate us from the final victory will always be different, apart from the 12th stage of each chapter, that includes a boss battle. Certainly the visual impact is far more satisfying in Neoverse than in other titles of the same genre, especially when compared with Slay the Spire, which for now represents the best of the best in terms of gameplay and roguelike deck building, since the graphic models and the visual effects are very well taken care of. The game is very similar to Slay the Spire in many ways. However, this game stands out with its visuals and unique mechanics, such as precision kills, not overkilling enemies, and parries, blocking the exact damage. In addition, you can collect trophies from bosses every 5th fight to buy gadgets that change some of the mechanics of the game to add replay value. In terms of difficulty, this game is easier than Slay because you have more control over your deck, and you have access to the shop to buy cards and items even during fights. If that's not enough, you can re-roll the shop listings anytime at an increasing cost per roll. Overall, the quality of the game is pretty decent for an early access game, but it can still be improved, and I would love to see it improve. Place 5 for the best roguelike card games goes to Nowhere Prophet, which is an excellent single-player card battler that punishes you with its difficulty. The battle system has a lot of depth to it, while you're constantly worrying about your convoy as events take their toll. Still, depth simply means starting again with a freshly generated campaign and getting to see more of the game's world. Nowhere Prophet can be frustrating at times, but it's fun to play through and is highly recommended to those who like strategy or card battlers. Defeating Nowhere Prophet can be creeping, as your resources drain away, or sudden, as you fall victim to an unexpected combination of cards. Either way, it can feel like playing against an opponent really strong enemy with small chances of winning. It can take another couple of hours before you have a deck that feels unique, before you escape a mire of enemies and text events you've seen a dozen times. Overall, Nowhere Prophet manages to feel like a completely new experience, despite the fact that you can see a lot of the game's influences in the way it plays. The mesh of different ideas and genres makes for a game that will hook you and keep you coming back for more. Even losses aren't as infuriating as they could be thanks to the regular unlocks you get as you go through each run. It's just really good, and if you like card games, then you should add this to your shuffle pile. The 4th place for the best roguelike card games goes to Sky Derelicts, which is an original combination of turn-based strategy and RPG, enriched with tactical card combat and popular roguelike elements. Explore derelict alien ships, fight, loot and upgrade your gear, all in distinctive retro-futuristic comic book aesthetic style. This game is a tactical tile-based exploration game, with deck-based combat and strategic elements. Heavily inked and consumingly gritty, it's as much Mignola as it is Darkest Dungeon, but with neat sci-fi flair. It's literally the embodiment of easy to pick up, difficult to master, and it will provide fans of Darkest Dungeon with another terrifying journey into the unknown that will require nuanced and strategic gameplay in order to be successful. It doesn't pull you in with the same force as Darkest Dungeon does, but this is a more than decent alternative. If you like your turn-based tactics mixed with a hefty dose of science fiction, this is definitely for you. It has a weak story, and its procedurally generated missions are tedious, but battles and development of your heroes are strangely addictive. If you're looking for a turn-based strategy game set in a dystopian world where you won't feel attached by your characters and don't need to pay attention to the story, Sky Derelicts has a lot to offer. Keep in mind though that while it's easy to pick up, Snowhound Games' title is hard to master. The 3rd place for the best roguelike card games goes to Monster Slayers, which is a roguelike deck-building RPG adventure. Create a hero and choose your path through the perilous Northern Valley as you battle to become a true monster slayer. It is a must-buy if you are a fan of this genre. You can easily lose 20+ hours here if you allow yourself, and that is only scratching the surface of the content that you can get into if you delve deeper. Monster Slayers is a great blend of an RPG and a deck-building game. While it's not as complicated as traditional deck-building games, it works really well with the RPG elements of the game. If you're looking for something different than your traditional RPG or deck-building game, Monster Slayers might be the game for you. It is a solid, easy-to-pick up and play kind of game. Each dungeon is a grid of encounters, and you have to clear the boss. If you die, you have to restart, but you can unlock upgrades for future quests. If you're looking for a game to combine a love of crafting devastating combo decks with ever-changing dungeon crawling, it may be just the thing for you. The second place for the best roguelike card games goes to Griftlands. Griftlands looked intriguing when it was presented in 2019, but this deck-building roguelike shows incredible promise right out of the gate. It's far from perfect, of course, as it is only an alpha release. There are areas lacking typical polish, such as bugs and spelling mistakes. There's also a large quantity of content still in development. The final game will include 3 playable stories, while the alpha release only features 80% of one character's story. Another significant difference between Griftlands and other deck builders is that its gameplay loop is largely narrative-driven, with already rich lore to delve into if you desire. Most notable and defining is the duality of negotiation and combat mechanics. You have 2 decks to build. One that's used to persuade, threaten, and negotiate your way through sticky situations, and a classic battle deck for when words won't work. Improving your deck is unique and gratifying, though both your negotiation cards and battle cards can be upgraded after repeated use. Despite the strong narrative, Griftlands stays loyal to many of the usual idiosyncrasies that make a roguelike. Randomization is woven throughout the game's quests, and even when moving between them on the overworld map, there's a number of random triggers that can help or hinder you. Griftlands is the most complete deck-building roguelike you can find right now. Place 1 for the best roguelike card games goes to Slay the Spire, which blends roguelike and deck building to offer an experience that is accessible, challenging and fun as hell from the very beginning. One of the best indie games. More than any other deck builder game available, this is the one, this is the must-play, which may very well break the players who have otherwise bounced off of all the rest. Slay the Spire is one of the most satisfying games. Laying down a series of cards and watching as they wreak havoc on enemies will make you feel like a strategic mastermind, and that this could be done without spending hundreds of hours building a deck is refreshing. There are few greater thrills than discovering a new powerful combo in Slay the Spire. An intricate and highly replayable game that shines across both of its genres, the developer combines a simple premise with near-flawless mechanical execution. Where the game needs to exceed, it does so by multiple degrees, more than enough to outweigh the minor quibbles it garners after hours of play. Any opportunity to even try the game should be greeted with enthusiastic expediency.